Okay, so I'm going to continue this completely differently, and of course I have to...
There's two sides to the flat earth debate, and if you're a flat earther right now, you're thinking, exactly. There's only two sides, you smug son of a bitch. There's the round side and the flat side. This is how insane this argument is. On the round side of this debate is every scientist alive.
Of course.
Not most.
All of them. Trust me.
Every legitimate scientist, every astronomy and physics professor, every pilot who makes it to their destination consistently. People who understand if you flew in the same direction long enough, you'd make it back around to where you began your journey, as opposed to the very different flat earth outcome, which has never happened, of just drifting off into the void. Soaring over a mythical ice wall that keeps our oceans from pouring into the abyss and quenching the thirst of the Kraken. On the other side of this argument, on the flat earth side of this argument, is Tila Tequila.
Right, yeah, so that was a little bit of comedy relief. I'm just going to close that off for a second. We'll get back to that momentarily. So I've had to adjust the angles of the camera, obviously. We're going to do this a different way now. So, yeah, I just could not get the comments to open up on the laptop, so I can go back to the old phone. I'm going to get them to open up. I'm going to go through them. And I just happened to come across that for a bit of comic relief and thought, that's exactly how they think. All the scientists. It's like, yeah, well, when you go to a Catholic school, all the priests preach the same thing. When you go to a government indoctrination centre, all the government indoctrination instructed people that we call the teachers teach the same thing. So no wonder that's what you believe. That's what we expect from a typical glyph. So I'll be back in a sec and I'll start recording again. Okay, so I have successfully rediscovered the video. And it appears I have to open up some room on this device. So this one can only go for 29 minutes and I'm already wasting time. I should notice that. I'm going to have to make some space before I can go too much further with part 3. But this is the one we're talking about. It's by Gian Video, however you pronounce his name. And I'll notice the first comment here didn't show up on the laptop, where Craig Andre, the first one, says that's a lot of word salad and a long-winded way of saying you don't understand any of the principles you're writing about, or you copied and pasted all of this. Could have saved yourself some time there. Worry less about philosophy and more about accrual, physics and mathematics. So, full of typos. I'm sure he means actual. So I did respond there with typical glyph tartary. When something is beyond your ability to understand, it's automatically word salad. Whereas I found it to be an extremely coherent and well-explained scientific description of the relevant facts. Quite simply, as we look at further distances, more and more information is packed into less and less visual space, so you simply cannot rely upon simple geometry to make complex calculations of anything beyond physical measurements, which is especially applicable to celestial objects. You might deem it to be philosophical, but most simply know it as simple logic. Leave actual physics and maths to the engineers. Gian responded to Craig Andre as well. This is the third time someone has mentioned this potentially being a copy-paste, and it brings me joy that you think it originated somewhere else. The principle can be put more simply. Just because a mathematical model works for practical purposes is not evidence of the variables. James Irving puts in his thing about the New York to Manila flight, and it looks as though I did respond to him there too. We have a 99%... That's right. What do you call a flat earther who's researched flat earth? An ex-flat earther? So I had to respond with, we have a 99.9% retention rate. Every flat earther is an ex-glypher though. And that's where I put this this reasonably well-known meme in, where it shows the flight route it actually takes, being that straight line, matches expectations that they say it doesn't, especially when you then look at the trade winds from a flat earth to a globe, which makes more sense. But anyway, getting a little off topic there. I also provided that one. I think that's a very relevant one. the actual flight paths using a globe Earth compared to the flat Earth, you can see they go straight across the USA. Why would they do that on a globe? Makes no sense. So even the luminaries precisely match the reality of the stationary planar Earth. They are the paths that we observe for Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter and Saturn. This is the pattern of the wandering stars circling above us. So again, every single map that I've been providing matches. And so that does go on. But again, my purpose of making this series of videos is to talk to all the responses here on the Eddie Reese one. So this is where it begins. I've already read quite a few of these early ones. Hopefully we'll get to constantly click. So that's where Carl says maps have improved quite a lot. That's when I produced the Scandinavian one. I produced all the same ones there. Talking about semantics. Carl gets into that. I reproduced that same map and said it's been long done, champ. Obviously, you're aware of the jet streams mysteriously moving hundreds of miles an hour faster than the Earth itself rotating. So yeah, the globe Earth is spinning from east, or that's actually from west to east. So it goes around that way. With my hands. The globe Earth, sun rises in the east, which means the sun is coming from, the Earth is going from the west towards the east. So we're constantly revolving around towards the east. So any plane or anything in the air should technically be able to go much faster towards the west because the Earth is spinning twice the speed, average speed, of most commercial airliners. So that's why they should be going faster from west to east. And even though they say that the atmosphere spins with the Earth, the trade winds themselves, especially around the south parallels where the Earth is spinning slower, south and north, that's where the trade winds go hundreds of miles faster than the Earth itself. So I can see where they're coming from. They might be trying to say, well, if it spins at the same speed it was at the equator, then by the time it gets out there, it's going to be spinning faster than the Earth. If they did argue that, that would be a reasonably clever argument, but nobody has ever said that so far. So anyway, let's get back to this. Okay, so yes, unfortunately, sometimes I do get a little bit condescending, and here's a good example, because I don't take this Eddie Reese guy seriously whatsoever. And I just said, yesterday's breakfast is ancient, pre-flight era is ancient, pre-internal combustion engine is ancient, your mode of thinking is ancient. The ancient Greeks thought the Earth was a sphere. We've developed laser eye surgery today. To the Greeks, a wooden schooner with more than one mast is advanced technology. Get with the times, peanut butter cupcake. Yeah, that's sort of a childish reference to his name being Reese, peanut butter cupcake. But I know, sometimes I do get a little bit like that. So Carl Becker comes back, and this is the guy I'm taking seriously. Says, look at that map with just a little bit of critical thinking. If the distance between LA to New York City is about 2,800 miles, which it is, then you can tell just by looking at that map, the distance between Sydney and San Diego is easily 4 times that distance, or about 12,000 miles. Well, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but which is not even close to what the actual distance is.